Well, another week. Here we are, middle of the day on Sunday. It's pretty nice out. Big storm rolled through. Hopefully those of you in Waconia, parts of the Twin Cities, it looked like there was some damage done. Hopefully everyone's okay. Haven't fully assessed the entire situation. Woke up to a bunch of text messages. We're over here in western Wisconsin at the cabin the last couple days. We got a lot of rain, a little bit of wind, lightning, nothing too bad here. Bilge ran for a while, that's about it. But this last week, things have been relatively interesting. Started the week on Leech Lake, went to Lake Minnetonka, now I'm on Wapagaset. I've been literally all over the place. Fishing's been pretty good, fairly consistent. We've seen a change in pattern, so I'll touch base on Leech to start. A lot of anglers asked me how the bite was on Leech Lake and what we had to do to catch our fish, so we'll touch that real quick. Jump into a little metro fishing, and then touch on a little bit of western Wisconsin fishing. Some consistencies, but also some differences. For starters, water temps stayed in the 70s, mid 70s. Generally speaking, we're at probably 75 degrees here now, late morning on Sunday. Even on Leech Lake, we were in the low 70s up there. It stayed relatively warm. We had a couple mornings where it did get cold. We put the vests on. It was like 50 degrees when we woke up, but it gradually hit 70s, even 80s those days as well. So what happened on Leech? Man, it was fun. We were up there for the Lund fish camp. We chased down walleyes, smallmouth bass. We caught a ton of pike. I had one of the guys in my boat even catch a little spotted muskie, which was super cool. But generally speaking, we targeted walleye. We caught a lot of walleyes, dropped TGs from Clam were the ticket. I've talked about it a few times here. Just covering water, fishing structure. I'm not a big water walleye guide angler. I struggle on that kind of stuff. The LOA team, Jiggy, Toby Kavalivog, those guys crushed them. They caught a bunch of fish out deep, isolated structure, main lake structure, things like that. We had some days where it was windy, so it was tough. So I stayed closer to shore. I didn't fish the bank. I still fished offshore structure because even close to shore on Leech could be a quarter mile out. I fished isolated reefs, humps, things like that. We did really well. Pitch and jigs, half a crawler, pitch and jigs, and a plastic. I pretty much used the OW walleye rod from Thorne Brothers I designed. This is a medium light blank. We've talked about it with a 1/2 inch off the tip. Little tighter load. I'm fishing that braided line to fluorocarbon leader. I have a tungsten jig head, whether it's the scope from All Terrain or whether it's the drop TG from Clam, and I'm fishing just a little minnow bait. There's all kinds of variations out there. We caught them on a ton of different things. We caught them on the Mayor, like you see here. We caught them on the Mooch minnow. We caught them on flukes. We caught them on all different stuff, but I was just kind of popping that, kind of snap jigging that back right on the edge of these humps and reefs. Even in the weeds and in the grass, I was catching fish on that. So that's how I was fishing. A lot of the anglers I took out were using Fire Tiger or Chartreuse in green or Chartreuse in orange Clam drop TG tungsten jig heads with a 1/2 crawler, a leech. We caught them on a Mr. Twister ringworm SI, that's the salt impregnated. We caught fish on that. We caught fish on a variety of different plastic presentations too. The biggest thing I saw out there is boat positioning was so vitally important. I could literally give you the waypoint to the hump we caught our fish on, and if you weren't literally in a specific zone as you came through the hump, you were not getting bit. They wanted to be right where it started to drop, not up on top of it, and not here where it flattened out. They wanted to be right where it started to drop because that's where we could see bigger rocks, this size, and they were scattered amongst there, kind of chasing bait. So that was our pattern there. That's how we caught our fish. We did pretty well. Pattern was consistent 3 days in a row on how we caught our walleyes. And I would just use the trolling motor to feather the boat, keep us in the spot, and away we went. So that's kind of what we saw up on Leech. Don't know what happened the rest of this week. Don't know what happened with any kind of weather that came through. When I left on Wednesday, we fished the morning bite, and then that huge storm came through. So if the pattern has done a complete 180, I apologize, but that's what we saw on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday morning. So then we jumped over to Lake Minnetonka on Thursday. All of our fish were biting Ned rigs. We caught a few fish on a wacky. If we were weighting it down. A lot of our fish moved into that 8 to 12 foot range. That's where I saw the best bite on Thursday. Again, weather day, a lot of rain came through A lot of rain came through Thursday, but caught some quality fish on a Ned. Right up on that 8 to 12 foot range, off of structure, main lake points, big flats where there's big inside turns. That's where we caught our fish, predominantly targeting bass. I didn't really chase walleyes at all in Tonka. I was there for one day, had a one day deal, corporate trip, caught some fish doing that. So Ned rigs, jig worms. I was fishing a Mighty Head with a full Kamita SI, so Mighty Head, full Senko style bait, pitching that around cover as well. Similar setup to this, braided line to fluorocarbon leader. That's what got bit there. And then as we moved here to Wapo, we've been targeting a lot of walleyes. We've been chasing bass, been chasing really whatever bites. And what I've seen here, which I think is very consistent with probably on Minnetonka, is again, we talked about inside weed lines, or inside turns on the weed line, sorry, inside turns. Now we're talking, pretend the space in between my hand is our flat, weed flat. A bump out. You're looking at your GPS and you got contours along the shoreline, and then you see this spot where it comes out, right? Right here, where my fingers are moving, right up here, and right up here, those are your inside-outside turns, right? So you have various versions of that. That's where we're getting bit. I'm coming into those areas, fan casting that L, looking for the weeds, pitching into the sparse weeds, not up into the junk, and not out where there's nothing, but into the sparse weeds with a heavy Ned head, and we're catching walleyes consistently here. That's where we're catching our walleyes consistently on Minnetonka and other lakes. So that's kind of what we're doing. We're not fishing way out in the middle of the lake on offshore structure. Not here anyway. Now, can you catch fish out there? Absolutely. Am I seeing a ton of boats out there doing it here? Absolutely. Am I missing something? Quite possibly. But generally speaking, those inside turns, that's where you're getting bit on your walleyes. Ned rigs, fish slow, let it hit the bottom, snap it through, cover water, and away you go. The bluegills, main lake points, we had a blast chasing bluegills, had a whole lot of fun. It was a good time. Crappies, honestly not sure, haven't chased them at all. Bass, similar situation out here as on Minnetonka, just get wet, cover water, get in the weeds, find any something abnormal on the weed edge, and you're probably gonna get a fish. So good time of year to be out chasing fish. The next time we come at you, it's gonna be July 4th weekend. Be safe this week, be courteous, be respectful. The lakes are going to be busy. If you hit the water this week and you're mad that the lakes are busy, sorry, with all due respect, that's on you. So get out there, have some fun, be safe. When I come at you next, like I said, it'll be July. Have a great holiday week. Enjoy it with family, friends, eat some good grub, and set some hooks for me.